Yesterday I had a rehearsal with Dingani, who is a lute player. We've got a concert coming up in April, and yesterday was our second meeting. We did meet once to discuss repertoire and actually which songs we were going to put into the program. And then we were supposed to meet up just before Christmas to have our first kind of, working through the songs, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. So yesterday was our first opportunity to meet up, and it went pretty well. But what's interesting, what I wanted to vlog about, was my own insecurities that flared up, because this is a very different genre for me, lute song singing. And I've always been used throughout my whole singing career, my whole singing life, I should say, to either singing unaccompanied songs or to have someone play the piano. There's only been a handful of times where I've actually sung with an orchestra, and that's a very different thing altogether. But so lute songs, bit of a challenge. And I've always known that lute song repertoire was out there, but I haven't really spent any great time up until recently getting to know it. And my voice has a particular sound, and it was when I sang for Emma Kirkby in a class. This must be at least 6 or 7 years ago, maybe slightly more. Well, hearing me sing, she was quite surprised that I had never got to sing lute song repertoire, because apparently my voice is quite suited to it. So I was curious, but it's taken me a while to get my act together. So the last 2 years, some of the necessary steps have kind of fallen into place. And last summer I did my first concert program with Din in quite an intimate setting, so I didn't have too many concerns, to see how it would all fit together and whether or not, how I felt about singing with a lute. It is very different, and yesterday my insecurities that I mentioned just now were all still there. It's very different. If you've been used to a lifetime of reading music, piano music, seeing songs on the printed sheet and looking at the piano accompaniment underneath and looking for your cues and the clues as to notes and things like that, it's very weird when suddenly all of that is gone and you can't recognize anything that you're looking at on the music. If I can just give you a quick example. Okay, here's a song called Eyes Look No More. And I don't know if you can see, but obviously you've got the vocal line there, and then you've got the lute music here. And I can see groupings of rhythms and things, but it's a very different thing. Trying to sing, and when you sing, of course, your head is filled with your own vocal sound. Sometimes you're not able to exactly hear what's going on in the lute. And unlike a piano accompaniment, where pretty much you sing and the accompanist follows you, I know that Din would say, no, I'll follow you, but there are some instances actually where you need to be slightly aware of what's happening in the lute, or there might be slightly longer times to allow the strings to vibrate and make their sound before you start singing. And I was reminded yesterday just how tricky it is when you're suddenly faced with something that you don't really feel 100% secure in. My voice was fine because the range in the songs is not particularly challenging, the vocal range, but everything else, very challenging for me. They've got a lot of words in them, these songs, and they tell stories because, of course, they're all about real events, real life events, usually a kind of commentary on the period of, we're singing songs for the Stuarts, for example. That's the title of the program. So it's all about 1600s, basically, and you're talking about the politics of court, and specific songs were written for specific people, and so there's almost like a kind of responsibility for it. And I was just reminded yesterday that this is not a genre that I am really, really comfortable with yet, but it's part of my job as a vocalist, as a singer, and certainly as a vocal coach, to have a go, and I'm having another go. So the rehearsal went quite well, but what I did notice was, maybe because of my insecurities, slightly, the singing voice was fine, and we rehearsed for about 2 hours before I stopped. It was my speaking voice that was not behaving. Once we'd stopped rehearsing, my speaking voice was all kind of all over the place. Well, it felt like it. It felt like something was not quite sitting right. I know why that is. And that's because whilst I might be really able to support my voice as a singer, my singing voice as a singer, I don't play by quite the same rules when it comes to speaking. And that is an issue for many singers. Is your speaking voice energized in the same way as your singing voice? And I would say most of us, that's not the case. So lute repertoire is another thing that I'm currently working on. I don't feel 100% okay with it. The songs are lovely. I'm beginning to know more and more and more about this period of time and the style of how you sing lute songs. But it certainly is quite a learning curve for me in feeling it's actually not so much singing, it's actually knowing and feeling confident with the actual genre of music. Maybe I'm overthinking it. That's probably more likely it, don't you think? I think so. Anyway, more another time, but worth talking about, I thought, this morning. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.